You know, shortly after I retired in the Department of Horticultural and Landscape Architecture at Oklahoma State University, I became very interested in one part of horticulture referred to as horticultural therapy. Actually, I had studied a little bit about horticultural therapy earlier in my career, but as I was getting a little bit older and some of my physical capabilities were becoming limited, I knew that at some point in time I may have to employ some of the horticultural therapy techniques for myself. So I enrolled in the horticultural therapy course at Oklahoma State University, Oklahoma City, under Julia Laughlin, one of my former students, which was very interesting. And we learned a lot about the things that we can do to continue to increase and allow people to continue to garden and enjoy the aspects of horticulture even though they have physical limitations. And as I'm beginning to age and have had some problems with knees and with hips and bones like many of us do, I found out that getting up and down from the garden has been a very difficult thing to do. And so I decided this year, because my raised beds were already beginning to go down and break down and need to be renovated, that I would build some raised beds that were elevated more so that I could actually sit on the side and garden that way. And it's been very, very effective for me. So what we started with was simply a 4x4, very similar to this. It was a treated 4x4 that was sunk about 9 inches into the ground. And then we positioned on that 4x4 1x12, actually 1x8s, but when they're playing down, they're only about 1x7, 2 of those high to give us a little bit of height. Now what Marty did when he built these, he actually put the sides together in his shop so that he had the sides, the 2 1x8s screwed in or fastened on to the leg. He had a seat, a similar seat put on the side here so I could sit on it and braced underneath. And we simply came in, dug the hole, put the 2 sides down, leveled them good, and then he used some screws and screwed in the ends to the 2 legs on each side. And it made a very, very good bed for us to actually go ahead and fill up with soil. Now I've got quite a bit of depth in here. And you know, topsoil can kind of be expensive if you get really good topsoil. So I decided what I would do is I would use some cheaper topsoil on the bottom. And so I've got it filled up to about maybe half or a little bit more than half with a rather inexpensive topsoil that is got some good drainage to it, some sandy loam, but I wanted some better soil on the top. So I was able to get from Prairie's Edge Landscape here in Stillwater, I was able to get screened compost, which, you know, I thought you can't beat that. So I went ahead and filled the top up with screened compost. And you can see here the difference in the soil here where the less expensive topsoil, sandy loam is on the bottom, and then the good screened topsoil is on the top like here. And so when we got that fixed, and I went ahead and just filled this on in with my screened topsoil or my screened compost, I really had an excellent bed here to grow things in without too many more soil amendments. And so I'm really anxious this year to see how this is going to come out and perform for me. And I've already begun to plant in these raised beds, and they worked out great for me. I really like them because of the height. After we had put the 2 sides on of the 1x8s, we had secured the seat on the side and then had filled in around the edges of it. I have a height here of about 14 inches, which is just about perfect for me to be able to sit down and get up without a lot of problems. And the beds are 4 feet wide, so I can reach from one side to the middle of the bed, then I can walk over on the other side and reach into the middle from the other side. And you know, we can grow just about anything in a raised bed, we can grow in a ground bed. One of the things we have to consider is because they are raised, they're going to dry out much quicker, so more attention has to be paid to watering and to irrigation. And I'll probably come in later and put in some sort of a drip or a irrigation system on these that will help me to maintain a more even water supply. But like I say, you know, you can grow about anything in these raised beds. Over here in this raised bed, and this one is 4 by 8 feet, so that's about, what, 32 feet. I have dedicated it to strawberries. Now someone said, you know, that's tying up a bed for an entire year, and in fact for several years with just strawberries. Why are you doing that? Well, I'm doing that for 2 reasons, maybe 3. I've got plenty of raised beds to grow what I want to grow, plus still some ground beds, and I like strawberries. I mean, that's the simple thing. You grow what you like, you grow what you want. And with strawberries, there's not many other fruits or many other vegetables for that matter any closer to the ground that you have to bend over or get on your knees and pick than strawberries. Maybe potatoes since they're under the ground. But you know, strawberries are really what we used to call a stoop crop. They definitely are. And so that's why I dedicated this bed just to strawberries. This year, because they're new, I can come in and interplant in the center. I'll probably come in a little bit later this spring, and I may plant, you know, I could go ahead and plant some early spring vegetables in here even now. I may could even plant some later things. In fact, I'm even thinking about maybe planting a couple of squash plants in here. They'll give a little bit of shade to the strawberries as they grow. So, you know, you can grow about anything in these raised beds. I'm really proud of the ones that I've got. And then over here on the other side, I've got a different type of raised bed, and we're going to do some planting in it. It was less expensive than these, simply because it was made out of less expensive material, but still just as functional. And it's made simply out of landscape timbers. This particular raised bed was already existing, like my others were, and they were all made from landscape timber, except the others with the landscape timber had already beginning to deteriorate, but this was still in really good shape, and so I really didn't want to destroy it. So all I did was build up on the existing bed that I had, which of course was much too low for me, and I built this on up with a couple of more landscape timbers and made a very functional bed once again, where I can just simply sit here on the edge of the bed and do my planting from the side. I've already planted my broccoli and cabbage, green cabbage up to this point, but also wanted some red cabbage, and so that's simply what I'll do right now. I'll go ahead and I'm putting my cabbage actually about 12 inches apart, which is a little bit close spacing for cabbage if you want big heads, but I want smaller heads, and if you bring those together in a smaller spacing, you're going to have a little bit smaller head simply because of the competition. So we can go ahead and I'll finish planting these out. When I get through on this side, I'll just walk over to the other side and plant from that row as well, because you see I can easily reach to the center, and then I can walk over and reach to the other side if I wish to do that. But all I have to do is just kind of scoot up the bed like this without ever having to get up or get down. And so it's working out very, very well for me. Another thing, as I mentioned in some of our other earlier beds that we talked about, is that we can do some intercropping or some interspacing on these. And so that's what I've done here. I've just planted my cabbage, then I've gone ahead and interspaced or interplanted with onions. And it's working out very well, because about the time that I want to add nitrogen to these cabbage to kind of promote their growth, then would probably be about the same time I'd also want to add nitrogen to my onions to promote bulb growth on those as well. And so it's worked out very, very well for me. I really am enjoying my raised beds, and if you're having some trouble, some sort of limitations physically in the garden, I would encourage you to look around and check out on the website, check out horticulture therapy, check out gardening for disabled people. There's many, many websites that you can go on out there and find some tips, some helps, and some aids for gardening for those people who have some sort of limited capabilities or physical limitations. So I would really encourage you to do that. And I'm kind of excited about the way mine's going to turn out this year. As you can see on this particular raised bed, I've put my hoops over it. Because it's very easy then, after I've got my hoops installed there, to maybe put a row cover over that should I have some sort of a tender crop in here or something that I want to protect either from a late frost, an early frost in the fall, or even maybe from the extreme heat in the summertime. What I have done before, I've used my hoops like this in the garden as well to prevent some insect damage. And that's probably what I'll do with these. I'll probably cover these cabbage and broccoli over with a light shade cloth or a light cloth later on, actually just to help reduce the damage from the cabbage moth or the cabbage looper. So, you know, it's been very functional for me, and I would encourage you, as I said, to look and see and try to do some different things in your garden. I mean, you know, we need to renovate our garden occasionally. If we're going to renovate our garden, let's renovate it to where it can be the most functional for us.